My dear children of the world, His Majesty King Abdullah II, Your Excellency President of Panama and the First Lady, His Royal Highness Prince Ali, Her Royal Highness Princess Reem, all Royal Highnesses and Highness, dear friends, my fellow Nobel laureates, and the world leaders, sisters and brothers. Today is a historic day because of three reasons that come to my mind. One is that we are organizing this second summit at a sacred place, a land, Jordan, in presence of His Majesty King Abdullah II, because the Royal Hashemite of Jordan does not preach humanity. Whole world can learn Islam from here. Islam does not mean extremism and terrorism. The literal meaning of Islam is peace, and the world can learn peace from this sacred land. When I say you don't preach only, you practice. That is reflected on the most beautiful, shining faces, smiling faces of the children whom me and many of my colleagues met in Zatari camp yesterday and a few days ago. That speaks volumes that what you are doing for the humanity, what you are doing for the justice and dignity of human beings. You have been able to embrace millions of children, women, and men. That sets an example of the true Islam to the rest of the world. This is a historic day because the victims of slavery and trafficking, the refugee children, and the youth from all over the world to support them have assembled here to talk on some of the most complicated problems. They don't want to sit as silent spectators. The youth of the world, youth of Jordan, refugees of Syria, the children who are assembled here, they are here to say no to the violence, no to violence. The young people are assembled here to say no to slavery and trafficking. The youth are assembled here to say no to the politics which has pushed millions of their sisters and brothers out of homes and countries. They are here to say no to those leaders of the world, the donors and the industrialized countries, that no more hollow promises, no more shallow dreams. We are here to question you. Fulfill your promises. The young people are here not just to listen, but to bend the arc of history in favor of millions of children in the world. I salute you, my dear young friends. And the third reason is that some of the biggest moral authorities and best brains, brightest brains are assembled here. On the bank of this Dead Sea, yesterday I was saying that Dead Sea is witnessing the ocean of compassion. You are ocean of compassion. You are here to globalize compassion. We have already globalized knowledge, economies, markets, production, everything. But this assembly here is to globalize compassion. And we are not just talking, but we are going to go back with concrete actions. The people who are assembled here, we represent the faces of those 50 million children who are on move, navigating dangerous and difficult paths and knocking the souls of humanity. Our voices are voices of those 152 million children who are toiling now, producing wealth at the cost of their childhood, freedom, and education, child laborers. Our dreams are collective dreams of those 263 million children in the world who are not in schools. And our resolve is united resolve to make this world a better place. This world more sustainable, more just, and more peaceful. That's why this is a historic day. Dear sisters and brothers, when I am citing these numbers, and numbers have been cited this morning as well, they are not simply numbers. Think of your own sons and daughters and your sisters and brothers. They are not numbers. They are amongst us. They are part of us. All these children are moved. They are part of us. I feel angry when I see and meet those children who are producing cocoa beans at the cost of their childhood and freedom, and they never tasted chocolate. I meet those children who are stitching footballs in my country and in neighboring country, Pakistan, but they could not dream to play with those footballs. I meet those girls who are sold in lesser prices than the animals for trafficking and prostitution. Not only that, when we read in the newspapers how the young children are killed and burnt alive in front of their parents, and how the mothers and sisters are raped in Myanmar, the Rohingya children, the Rohingya people, they are not responsible for that. We read in the newspaper sometimes that the young girls are snatched away and sold for sexual slavery in lesser price than that of cigarette pack in the neighboring country here by ISIS people. And if they cannot perform well, if these girls do not do well, they are buried alive. I ask, whose daughters are they? Whose brothers are they? I feel they are my daughters, they are my sons, they are my children, they are your children. They are your children. They are all our children, and we have to do it now. We have to save them now. Children were never responsible for wars and insurgencies or natural disasters. They are the worst victims. And unfortunately, this refugee crisis, for what they were never responsible, are exhibiting the problem of trafficking and slavery, child labor. I was sitting with a group of people in Turkey, in outskirts of Istanbul a couple of years ago. And I saw a man fixing the marriage of his 12-year-old daughter. He was a Syrian refugee. And when I asked him, why are you doing so? He said that my elder daughter is missing for quite some time. She might have been trafficked. He said that my younger son is engaged as child laborer in an automobile workshop. And the only way to protect, the only way to safety to my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, to marry with a 60-year-old man. We cannot sit quiet. Can we afford? Do we want to leave a legacy of fear and violence and helplessness to the generations to come? Or we have to act now? And that's why this gathering is very, very important, this summit. Dear friends, and His Majesty and Excellencies, I am very thankful to all of you for hosting this. When we organized the first summit, the idea came to my mind that we have achieved a lot in the world, but there is still a lack of global political will. There is a lack of honesty towards our children. There is a moral deficit while we deal with our children in the world. And that's why we have to create the strongest possible moral voice and platform through the Laureates and Leaders for Children. It's a movement which is growing. We begin in India, but I tell you that we, the Laureates and Leaders, are not going to leave this like that. We will make sure that every single child is free to be a child. I'm thankful especially to His Royal Highness Prince Ali, who attended India's first summit. And he was so moved, and actually he impressed the whole country, I tell you. And then recently, His Majesty was visiting India, and everybody was watching Your Majesty, on television. Your very, very moderate explanation of the faith and all these things brought tears to the eyes of many people. And I tell you that many of the friends whom I know, they realize that we need the clerics and faith leaders in all faiths like His Majesty. And I said, no, he's not a cleric. He's not a religious leader, but he speaks through heart, and the spirituality comes out of it. So thank you for that. And your visit to India was great, great, great. And to sum up, dear friends, I propose something. When I was sitting in Zatri camp yesterday, and my sister and leader, Mary Robinson, asked a question to some of the officers there, that what kind of message we can take to the world. And different people answered in different way, but I recall one thing. I tell you that we cannot think of a shared future of humanity without shared present. And the shared present is possible only when the entire international community support and increase their support, financial support and other support to the countries like Jordan. The countries who are hosting refugees and fighting out these menace, they should be supported by the international community, because it is not an isolated problem of Syria or Yemen or Iraq or Jordan or any other country. This is a global problem, and we have to share it as solutions. The second thing I would say, that we all should prioritize the issues of children, which are already there in the Sustainable Development Goals. But all these goals or sub-goals are so scattered that we don't bring a collective, comprehensive policy. I call upon the United Nations agencies and the world governments, individual governments, to prioritize the issues of children which are mentioned in SDGs and deliver to it. And that requires resources. Education is key to all human rights and development. But why 263 million children are not in schools? And that needs only $40 billion additional dollars annually. And what is this $40 billion? A week-long global military expenditure. We have to choose whether we have to produce guns and bullets, or we have to produce books and pencils to our children. Today we are to say that we don't want a world which has been elaborated and strongly put to the world day before yesterday by American children. We don't want gun culture. We want safe schools, we want safe homes, we want safe countries, we want safe world. So I demand that government should adhere to their promises and ensure education for all children by way of putting this amount of money. And thirdly, I also propose that we should have a strong task force of United Nations agencies, including UNODC, ILO, IOM, UNHCR, to come together to find the solutions of this problem, because migration, trafficking, and refugee crisis are intermingled now. We can solve any of these problems we cannot solve these problems in solo. So we have to work together and find a strong task force with a collective action and collective planning. And finally, we see that how the technology is being misused by the terrorist forces, violent extremist forces, and how it has become a huge problem in pornography and all these things. So let us call for an international, strong, legally bind international convention to stop and check the issue of pornographic purposes. The material is being produced and distributed by the social media groups and by the internet providers. We have to check it now. So dear friends, I once again thank you with a dream that what I dream, that there should not be any passport and visas for our children in the world. Children have never created borders. So we have to find a way where children can move freely. If knowledge can move freely, if your wealth can move freely, if your technology can move freely, why not our children? Who is precious? Your technology or your children? Our children are more precious. We should put an end to this. Do you agree with that? My young people? Thank you, young people. We should go for, and I dream a world where every child is free to be a child, and I'm sure that under your patronship and your support, we are going to fulfill that dream. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.